there, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. Such as Founders of Teotihuacan. This comes from Board and Dice and designer Philip Govacs. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. But this is a sequel of sorts to the very popular Teotihuacan game. That came out in 2012 or 2020, I mean.
Was it?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure when the original came
2018,
out. 2018, 2019, sometime
maybe.
Around there. A big, crunchy game. Well, this is a tile-laying version of that game. It is a little more streamlined. It's a different type of game, but it's set in the same type of world, same type of theme.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of the similar graphic designing and artwork that you found in Teotihuacan. But it looks completely different. So we're going to show you an overhead look of what you're going to have in this game. You're going to have this main board out here that's going to have a whole bunch of polyomino tiles in different colors and shapes. You're also going to have several different worship tiles that you will be cashing in for different actions. Pyramid tiles that you are going to be placing all of that on your own personal player board, and placing building tiles and temple tiles around the outside of your player board, and pyramid tiles on the center part of your board, layering them up to build a temple, or a pyramid, excuse me. And this is a game that is all about tile laying. It has a little bit of action selection with your discs that you are going to be using. And it also has a timing mechanism with this little architect meeple. This is a booger of a mechanic in this game. This guy is basically going to be traveling around the edge of your board every turn, and wherever he's at, that's going to dictate where you are able to take actions, or where you're able to place tiles on your board. So if he's up here on the north part of your board, you're only going to be able to place tiles on the north half of your board. If he's over here on the east, then you're only going to be able to place them on the east side of your board, so on and so forth. And just kind of what you're getting with this type of game is you're placing tiles, but you're also doing action selection, and it's all dictated by this architect meeple. So you've got several different layers of thinking going on with this game, and it all kind of blends together to form a completely different kind of game than what you had with the original Teotihuacan. Still has some similar ideas with the pyramid building, but it is a completely different game, completely different experience, and it's through and through a tile laying game with some other mechanics kind of built into it. So we're going to share our thoughts on this game and let you know what we think about it. Jeremy, I'll let you go first. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, as we talk, I mean, tile laying games are not my favorite. I'll just put that out there to begin with. We've reviewed a couple others, and I mean, I'm not going to get into the gist of it. It's just not my cup of tea as a game that I'm, gravitated to. Lance, we got this as a review, and I told Lance we'd give it a shot. But I feel like with Founders of Teotihuacan, there's way too much confusion in the way that things are put in the rules to confuse you. I mean, I feel like it's just there to confuse you, to create higher complexity, to make you to try to think it's heavier.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you do have the architect meeple, which tells you where you can build. And you can build your temple tiles in that region, or it has to be completely in that zone.
The building tiles
overflow.
Yeah.
And the temple. These are the temples.
Right, and the temple. You're right.
Temples and buildings have to go in a certain district where the architect is. But your pyramid tiles
Pyramid tiles.
can
They can
overflow. to another region. And I didn't understand this, at the beginning, but if you put your temple overflowing because your architect's in a different spot, you can get double the points because it's over.
Right.
Just like this one, if this was a green tile and it was over the top, well, it's going to double up just like that would.
So what Jeremy's talking about there, in case if you're not familiar with the rules with this game at all, you are essentially going to get a lot of in-game points if you have temple tiles or pyramid tiles that match similar colors to these temple tiles in the same quadrant. So you've got 4 different quadrants here, and anything that overlaps 2 quadrants. So this tile right here is in technically 2 quadrants. It's in this quadrant and it's in this quadrant. And so it's going to score for not only this pyramid tile, but also this pyramid tile. And plus, if you have a pyramid tile that also overlaps 2 quadrants, well, it's gonna score for both quadrants as well. So it's prime real estate trying to get good tiles in these 4 spots, and as well as getting temple tiles that cross over these boundary lines. That is a huge part of this game. And it is, again, it's dictated by this architect, because wherever this architect goes, it limits where you're able to build. And that's not an easy thing to conceptualize for sure. It does take some mental gymnastics to kind of, keep everything straight as far as the rules and how it all plays out. And then you've got the scoring element on top of that. So I will agree with Jeremy. I think that is a little fiddly.
And like I said, I just feel like when we looked up the complexity for the game, it's a 3, and I feel like for a 60-minute tile laying game, 3 is quite heavy. And when you throw in, and like I said, I think part of that complexity is the way that certain tiles can be placed in certain spots when others can't, and then you're scoring off of those. I just felt like it was too jumbled together, I guess.
Okay.
To build complexity in the game. I told Lance if I wanted to play Teotihuacan, I would take the extra 0.77 complexity in 30 minutes and play
the
full Teotihuacan, because it's just as swingy as this could be, I think. In a round with, based on which dice, and we haven't played that in a while, but I think I would just, as usual, I would probably prefer to take the more complex version if it's not going to really save a whole lot of complexity or confusion, and time is still going to take a while because there's that confusion of placing your tiles and having to get them in the right spots to get that maximum score. So for most of the game, like I told Lance, I felt like in some games you can just alleviate doing certain things that are the main theme or the main goal that the game wants you to do, and you can get points and win a different way. And for me, when I just was thinking it was too confusing and too tough to do stuff, it made much more sense to just take the initial 2, 4, 6, 8 points,
getting immediate points, on certain spots on the board.
Or that trading in these. I mean, there's much better. I think for me it was just made more sense to just take the immediates. Yeah, getting mass real fast, the higher point ones. That was my focus, was to get high point mass, do these actions, especially if I'm taking this bonus action, which will let me do this, and I can do this twice. Well, now I've maximized the initial points I can get, or immediate points, versus waiting for in-game. And Lance will tell you, usually I'm in-game
all about
focused.
the in-game.
I'm very in-game focused in the majority of games that I play. I think the heavier gamers usually tend to do that. But for me, with this one, with the complexity and the confusion, it made much more sense to just get immediate points and not get boggled up with having to do this and that. And it could have bit me in the end, Luckily it didn't, but that was my biggest thing. We have another one that we agreed on that we'll hit on maybe later. But those were the biggest things for me. The action selection was fine. I didn't feel like that part. I didn't feel like that part was too confusing. I know for you, seeing and knowing you're getting that level of strength to build those was a little confusing at times, visualizing it.
Yeah.
For me, I did not have any problem with that. I feel like action selection part was fine. The main issue for me, and then even getting the tile from there and trading it in was fine. The biggest thing for me was just the main focus of the game and the pyramid and the scoring and the confusion around the placement.
Okay. So yeah, lots of things that Jeremy talked about there I do agree with. I think that there is fiddliness with the tile placement rules. I think if the graphic designing of the board had been done in a manner to kind of make it more straightforward, like maybe just even putting some sort of graphic on these border lines to indicate, you can't cross this border if the architect's not in the right spot, but you can cross the border in this center pyramid area. Like that would have been a helpful little addition, I think, without making the board too complex or too busy. But for me personally, and this may be a rarity, I didn't find the game very complex. I felt like the game was a more visually kind of complexity and not so much rules complexity, as I was trying to visually make sense of some of the iconography that's on the different tiles. I will say I think the iconography could be a little bit clearer, and making sense of these different action selection discs, as it's kind of a little hard to see if this is 2 discs or if it's 3 discs, and then this also counts as a disc. That is a little confusing, but I will, say that that's a small minor complaint that I have for it. As far as the rules go, I felt like it was a pretty straightforward experience. My gaming experience with this game, though, I really enjoyed it. I'm big on tile laying, as you probably know if you've watched a lot of our videos. For me, the tile laying aspect with the polyominoes, as well as trying to coordinate that with these pyramid tiles in the middle. So you have 2 different layers of tile laying going on. You've got what's going on the outer grounds here, and really trying to maximize the placement of these tiles, really wanting to overlap them in different quadrants is key, but also getting them in spots to cover up these masks. These building tiles, their placement is super important because that's how you get resources to be able to pay for these temple tiles. I mean, all of those different layers of thinking are extremely important, and coordinating them with the pyramid in the middle. And again, going back to this architect mechanic and him traveling the board, being in different spots, dictating where you're able to do things, I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a fun frustration. If you've watched any of the videos that I've done with my wife Sam on our Love to Hate side of the channel, then you'll know that that frustration is a fine line. There's a line of frustration that you tolerate and you enjoy in gaming because it's a challenge and it's a struggle, and I really want to do that mental gymnastics to try to figure out how to make it work. And then there's crossing that line where it's just not fun, where it's too much work, or the ends don't justify the means, that I'm having to do too much to make the fun happen in this game. And for me, this landed on the side of fun frustration. I enjoyed this guy getting in my way. I enjoyed not being able to do everything that I wanted to do with the action selection. There were several times, Jeremy, where you took a spot where I would say, that's where I wanted to go, or not only was it taking a spot, but blocking off a spot of, so like if, for instance, you can only have 3 player discs on top of a bonus disc. And so if there are 2 discs already there and a guy comes along and places a 3rd disc on top, well, now that spot's completely blocked off and you can't go there. And I enjoyed that being blocked off worker placement type of experience with this game. For me, it all really kind of worked well with these different actions and having to choose, do I want to build or do I want to get resources, cash tiles in?
Is there a, let me ask you this, because I didn't see it out. Is there a player aid?
I do not think there is a player aid in this game.
I think that's a major thing that a new printing needs is a card that says temple tile and it has a icon or even the 3 colored tile symbol like it has on one of these that we saw, that it says this is able to be placed here, not able to be placed over. I think it needs that badly. I don't see, we're on totally different opposite sides here as far as frustration or confusing. Iconography, I did not have a single trouble with the iconography. As far as all like placement of the disc, nothing.
That didn't bother you.
For
That's
the
so
things
funny.
that affected Lance
Didn't affect you.
Frustrated him. Those things were the things that I had zero problem with. One other thing we talked about was the pyramid tiles. I feel like white on white was not a good choice.
Right.
It doesn't differentiate much. Even if you look under the tile, I don't know if this is on camera, but under the tile, there's
it's a creamier color.
A shale kind of color. And even if it was a cream or a shale or something different, but having this white tile on top right next to other white, even though there's a border, it just didn't look good. It kind of, I don't think it helped with keeping things to be from being confusing.
It doesn't have the table presence that its big brother has. And I not that they needed to make
that game's not even, I mean, the table presence in Teotihuacan isn't amazing.
No,
I mean,
it's not. It's not.
The only thing is it's got domino-esque tiles. I mean, that's the main difference. But I felt like they got a little lazy. That's just with little things, because this is similar to the look of a decoration tile. And I know that's what they're going with in a sense, but it just felt like it wasn't done.
I do think these tiles could have been done a lot better and look a lot different.
Even if it was just a different color in the background.
I mean, this is as plain as it can be. Now, granted, this is just the center tile. You start with. But I do agree with that.
A hair better,
I feel like this was in some ways like the stripped down, streamlined version, and it's still not.
I don't feel like it was that streamlined.
It's not like that. You could play this with anybody. This is not a love to hate game, by the way, where you could play with non-gamers or casual gamers. You still want to play this with gamers, but in doing that, they kind of stripped away some of the look, the table presence to it, because it does kind of have this starkness to it. These tiles look great. I love the polyomino shapes and how different contrasting these colors are, but the board itself doesn't look fantastic. The player boards are just kind of meh, because even the outer spaces out here, like they could have done some texture design to these spaces, I feel like. But
I mean, it costs about almost the exact same as Teotihuacan. I mean, if I just looked it up online, and you can, granted this one's newer and the price may go down a little bit, but the price is so close, complexities, I mean, it's still pretty close. And
I would
time-wise, it's
I imagine for you don't quite understand why this game needs to exist. Why have this?
I mean, in theory, it sounds like they were trying to make it shorter, easier, and in a sense, it's this much shorter.
It's not significantly
easier. I've talked a bunch about what I didn't like. Let me say, I do like placing the cubes for the resources. I think that is a nice thing to put into the tile placement. Getting those resources, producing next to the tiles. I like that. That's probably my favorite thing in addition to placing the disc. As far as an action selection, I like action selection. I just, like I said, the other things for me make me, and there are people that will play this and you will love this version and you will never play the original again, and that's perfectly fine. But for my gaming preferences and maybe others out there like you're in the same boat that it doesn't really need to exist. But
Yeah.
then again,
Then
again, you know, if you're a big Terraforming Mars fan, you may think that Ares Expedition doesn't exist and stuff.
So here's my thoughts on that. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's a good correlation here. In my opinion, I do enjoy Ares Expedition. I love it. In fact, in some ways, I'd be more inclined to play it over the bigger version just because of the things that prohibit me from getting the bigger version to the table. It's bigger, takes longer to set up, it takes more time, it's harder to teach.
But essentially, it's an engine builder like that. This one is totally different game.
This is a totally different game. And so, in some ways, that's not a good comparison because, yeah, this is a totally different gaming experience. But I do think there are enough differences between the two.
You could own both.
You could own both and still have a time and place to play both. Now, I do want to say this. So, if you've watched any of our videos, you'll know Jeremy is much more of a heavier gamer than I am. I kind of tend to gravitate more towards the medium type games, where I think you would gravitate more towards the medium heavy type games. And I think...
Yeah, well, I'll say, Lance, you're usually light
to medium weight,
heavy.
yeah.
Maybe
medium heavy, yeah.
Me, I'm more medium
to heavy as all get out.
to let's just drop a bomb here.
That being the case, and I think, and I'm going to make a blanket wide statement, which is always going to get me in trouble, but I think more often than not, if you are someone more like me that is light to medium, maybe medium heavy,
or even tile placement,
if you're big on tile placement, you're gonna dig this. You're gonna have a good time with this one. I feel like if you kind of gravitate more towards the heavier end,
or action selection,
this won't make much sense to you. Yeah. This will be why would I want to do this when I could play the Big Brother?
Well, I mean, why would I want to spend the hour and a half?
And I get that.
When I could play something that's an hour and a half. That's different. I mean, there's just we kind of spoiled as board gamers nowadays because you want a tile laying game? Well, guess what? This tile placement game, there's 100 of them right there that are pretty fresh over the past several years that you're like, well, I'll play this. I like this. You have so many options. Worker placement, you have so many options. Area control, so many options. I mean, you have options and you're going to, theme is a big thing for me. Not that I don't like this theme, because I've owned Teotihuacan, I've played it. It's a good game. It's a top 100 game. I think people see the name and they're going to think it's more like that.
That's true.
Even the pyramid building, you get a bonus by placing the first one, but after that, your bonus is for score. You're not getting bonuses like when you place on the tiles and get those in the original.
I do question the idea of just and I've said this about other games too, like Founders of Gloomhaven. It was nothing like the original. It was just set in the same universe. And would it have done a better job not having anything to do with Gloomhaven? Maybe. I don't know.
Jaws of the Lion do the same thing?
Yeah, but that's pretty much the same game. Jaws of the Lion and Gloomhaven, pretty much the same game. But with this, they're so different. They're so vastly different. I kind of wonder, would it have done better if it just would have been a different... Yeah. So that's a different idea for a different video. Yeah. For this one, let's jump into our final scores on this and wrap this video up. I'm going to jump out there first because I have strong feelings on this game.
I have strong feelings too.
Just different kind of feelings, I feel like. For me, guys, I did like this game quite a bit. My negatives towards it were pretty minor. They're more visually than they are gameplay and experience. And so for that, for me, is a pretty minor nitpick towards it. I am going to give this game a 7.7. I really enjoyed the tile laying mechanics and how that interacted with this meeple, this architect moving around the board. And the action selection was a nice addition to it. I felt like it flowed and moved together smoothly. Its turns were quick and snappy, and it only gets faster as the game continues because you get fewer and fewer actions. So it starts off slow, and then it really picks up, and I enjoyed it. How about you?
I mean, I like that too. I like that you lose a disc. So that's another positive. I do like that it limits your actions for the future, and I like that first player changes. If it didn't, then I would...
You'd have a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, especially starting out with no extra benefit. As far as the score for me, like I said, tile laying is not my favorite game mechanic. I've told you everything about this game. And so for me, honestly, I mean, I would probably rate it a 6, maybe a 6.1. I mean, it's not going to jump much. It's basically the same number, 6 and 6.1. It's just, I just felt like it's too confusing for the time. Not having a player aid as even a card or something on the table. There should be something about the scoring that you can see and check back.
Okay.
And it explains.
I can agree with that.
Placing the tiles in the pyramid tile. I just not having that I'm honestly a little shocked by it.
Okay.
Not even.
I can understand. Yeah. Like we've been saying, if there was a graphic on the board, something that would have really helped out with that, I think. So. All right, well, there you go. That's our thoughts on this game, Founders of Teotihuacan. And, we didn't even mention that there is a solo mode to this game, David Turksey, so you know it's good. Guy makes all sorts of solo games out there. So we did not get a chance to play the solo experience, so can't tell you for certain whether or not that is a good experience or not, but I have to believe that it probably is. So... but that's our thoughts on the multiplayer version of this game. Leave some comments down below. Let us know what you think.
Oh, be nice in the comments.
Oh, yeah, well.
I'm probably getting a lot of heat on this one.
Say whatever you want to say. We won't guarantee that we'll reply back.
Lance will just delete it.
You can try to say whatever you want to say. But yes, leave us something down below. If you like this video, please consider hitting that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of all of our new great content. I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
hard to master.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.